take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college.
Hey everyone, it's Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay. Time for our podcast on CLNS Media, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Hey Bob, I understand that it's just the regular season, and that's what I've heard from many people. I've also heard that championship teams have the hangover and so forth. But the Celtics are 7-7 in their last 14, and they just lost at the time of this recording, 110-97 in Toronto. I'm kind of speechless, and I'm probably an alarmist. Where are you here on this?
Oh, I'm officially out there saying, don't panic. The only time I'm going to get excited or worried is when they're down 3-1 in a playoff series. Okay, that's what I said before the Toronto game. I might want an amendment. I'm shifting from annoying. I said they're annoying. They've been annoying this whole stretch, 7-7. All right, I'm getting to the anger stage. Hey, I'm going all share and moonstruck on you. Snap out of it, guys. Okay, snap out of it. I'm tired of this. There's not technical reasons. They do not need any technical help. They need mental to play the damn game the way they know how to play and have played it. And it starts at the defensive end, okay, where they were exemplary at times last year. And of course, we're not going to win any battle trying to change the world in the 3-point, shot.
Right.
We're not going to. I can't change the world. I'm Sancho Panza with with Don Quixote and the windmills. I'm never going to win this one. I know that. But you just hope that they recognize that there's more to the world than 3-point shots, no matter what.
Well, Bob, but you've even pointed it out when you say the defense. You're right with the three, but they went to the basket and was scoring in the perimeter against OKC. Then their defense fell apart in the fourth quarter, and they still lost. We saw examples of them going to the basket against New Orleans, and they barely won that game because their defense was awful. I mean, New Orleans is a terrible team. There were players, if you leave any NBA player open for a considerable amount of time, they will kill you. And I think you're right. We'll put the threes aside. Defensively, they are giving up too many easy baskets.
I remember writing about this really 30 years ago, 40 years ago, about the NBA's incessant rotating double teams, which invariably leaves somebody open as if you're going to double team, right? And you've got to have a balance in how you work all that out. But I'm tired of seeing, as you just said, wide open, and not just. And most guys and people in the NBA now can make a three at some point, but no, it's not good. I'm tired of it, and they shouldn't be they shouldn't be struggling to win with the prayer that the last shot doesn't go in against New Orleans, and you shouldn't lose to Toronto. Period. And this is a bad 7-7 is speaking for itself now. Okay, that is speaking for itself. And we don't want to hear. I'm not going to give them an injury thing. They were playing quite well in the beginning, 16-3 without Porzingis, and we know how. So I'm not going there. And I don't know how hurt or if he's not the same. He's surely not the same. Holiday is. He's not the same.
He's been very. That's very astute. He's been very quiet.
White is in a slump, and I'm not. That's a slump. I'm not gonna panic about his recent abysmal 3-point shooting because that's part of the deal. And they're not. Pritchard can't save their ass every night. From the bench, and some nights he's mortal, and he's kind of leveled off a little bit lately from that stretch where. Everybody was handing him the 6.
And also, I'll say maybe he came back to earth somewhat.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, they got a thing is they better snap out of it before they get out on the West Coast.
Well, that's right. I mean, because the schedule.
Better. Maybe now we can give them, we can offer them this. They're going to put on their championship hat and they're going to show the world how good they are when they play against real teams. All right, fine. We'll see. We'll see if they're going to adopt that stance. Fine. If you're going to talk that talk or imply that talk, then you got to walk it. So see if they do.
Well,
meanwhile, forget about the division. Games behind Cleveland in the loss as we speak.
Right. Well, we've talked about this before. Is I think it's harder to turn it back on once you shut it off, and I think they're finding that. Now, the teams of the past never really turned it off. Maybe a game or two, but they never took their pedal. They never took their foot off the pedal. And when you say, they go out west, so they'll show. I think it's hard to when you go 7-7 in 14 games and lose on the road to Toronto and play the way you've been playing. I mean, in their last 3 games, they haven't busted 100. If you're going to go in and play Golden State or Denver or whomever, I think it's hard to turn the switch back on for that one game.
Sure it is. This is going to be a test. And once again, it's a test. And I'm not declaring panic or anything else. I'm angry, but I know it's fixable because it's fixable. And I got to believe they're going to wake up sooner or later. Now is that okay? So,
well,
meanwhile,
as a citizen, as you're more of a member of the media than I am. But as a citizen, when I sit down and watch a game, I just want to see a good game. I don't want to see him lose in Toronto. That's all. That's all I want.
Well, I mean, I've always been a fan. I've never shied away from it. I'm not one of these, right. I won't even use the standard writers that, I'm above it. I don't care who wins and loses, blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm into it for. No, my whole career and writing is built on being a sports fan first, who happens to have had this wonderful privilege to write about it and cover it and talk about it. So, but I'm a fan. Yeah. So I watch it with both, both hats available. So, but when I sat down to write in my day, I tried to be a respectable journalist,
right.
But I always respected the fact that I was writing for a certain audience and people, and I think when you're writing in a city, you try to reflect the attitudes, you have to pay attention to the mood of the fans. So anyway, I'm a fan. I've never said I wasn't a fan. And so I get angry,
Good for you, Bob. Sometimes getting angry keeps us young. Okay, you were keeping an eye on the Cavs and the Thunder, so the Thunder returned the favor. Man. We've got a rivalry going here.
Wow, that was when I went to bed. It was at the end of the third period. They had their 42-point lead had just dwindled to 38 at the end of the third quarter. So if you saw the final score this morning, you would have mistakenly thought that there was some possible semblance of a game because the final spread was 20, which means the fourth quarter was classic garbage time, classic, in which the losing team, cut the deficit to something that looked a little more respectable than it really was. Okay. I am now saying I understand. It's not a bandwagon. Well, it's a band. This is an acknowledgement, all right, as opposed to jumping on a bandwagon. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is right now the best guard in the league. He's clearly playing the best two-way basketball of any guard in the league.
Right.
So if people want to start talking about MVP because they've been talking about it since Thanksgiving, and certainly even then, yes, he is at the right among the major candidates at the top of the list. He's really good. He had another great game. He had 40 points in less than 3 quarters last night. And by the way, if you watched it, you would have thought it was 20. I mean, it was a nice, easy 40. He's really good. And I was ready to discount this game because Hartenstein didn't play. If they lost, they'd have a good excuse. Oh, really?
Right.
They're 42. They're good. And here's the most interesting thing. This morning, I happened to run into the clip from Kenny Atkinson, the losing coach.
Yeah.
Heaping praise on the Thunder. He said that it was like playing 7 pit bulls. He
Yeah.
said, not 5, 7. They clawed, they fought, and he said, I mean this in a good way. He wasn't, he wasn't whining about being beaten.
Yeah, they had something to
He
prove.
He said they toppled us, they overwhelmed us, and that's a 7 pit bulls. I love it, but that was an honest assessment. Their defense is good. They're good. I mean, they are definitely, totally, utterly for real. And and by the way, Alex Caruso is back now after missing 18 games. The most indispensable, innocuous player of, I mean, he's fascinating. There's nobody quite like him in the category, he looks like an accountant, and you dismiss this, dare I say it, 6'5" white guy, who people, and he's a hell of a smart defender, and he makes threes. So he's back. They're good. They're really good. I mean, Cleveland, they got to just shake it off. That's just one of the nights. Bad night at the office. Bad day at Black Rock. That's the attitude they got to take. If they do this again, okay, maybe their fans can start worrying about them. But that game was on the road. OKC was totally and completely ready, and Cleveland did not respond in kind. That's all. So.
Just to play the game of looking ahead, if the Celtics don't bounce back or they don't make the finals, is a Cleveland OKC series going 7 for sure?
I mean, Cleveland, much better than we saw last night. We know that.
Oh yeah, no. Of course it is. But what we saw from OKC, what we saw from OKC lends to the flammability of this rivalry.
It would be a worthy finals. It would be a very worthy NBA finals. Yes, I mean they're sure. I would applaud it. And of course, you'll be hearing, oh my God, they're not marquee teams. They're not, glamour teams, and they got the wrong thing on the front of the jersey, and all that. And I'm sorry, it doesn't concern me at all. I don't care where the team comes from, from Peoria. As long as if they're the best team, they're the best team. And so anyway, I've never worried about that. But I'll never forget the 1 year, circa 1990, when Larry was still coaching Indiana in those 3 years, and there was a possibility if Utah had beaten the Bulls, which they should have, by the way, at that year. Karl Malone came up small as usual. Don't get me started on him. It would have been a Utah-Indiana final. And I was picturing a lineup of TV execs on the highest buildings in New York jumping off, that one. But OKC and Cleveland, it will not, that will be a non-glamorous.
To me, it is. However,
it should not matter. But what's wrong with people?
Well, but here's one of the things, Bob. I understand, but now we have an international market, and I think that I'm not going to say it negates the negative, it negates the issue you're discussing, but it changes things because you're going to have people all over the world, China and so forth, that are going to watch the game. They don't care. So the NBA is still going to get the numbers. But you're right. I remember, it always had to be Boston, LA, or New York, LA, and so forth. And, they wouldn't pay attention to these small teams. And I think it would be a great series. I think it would go 7 games. I think it would be knockdown, drag out. I think it would be fun basketball. I don't think it would be, I think, unfortunately, if that happens, the most talented team is still Boston, and they would be at home. So that would be a shame if that happens. The international audience has changed.
I have not. Fortunately, I got out of the business before OKC moved from Seattle, so I've never been to OKC for a game.
Right.
And I take it's a really good atmosphere. It's a very good collegiate type atmosphere. Yeah, it's really, really good.
All right, Bob, we got more coming up here. Bob's going to talk about some numbers from the Clippers games and also remembering a champion in Gus Williams. But first, I need to tell you about Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot up to win 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. So, of course, hoops heating up. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports or your favorite NBA team. Now, Prize Picks also offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account. this sports season. And they always put their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when your pick hits, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you pay $5. You don't even need to win to receive a $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. So what do you think? Steph Curry for more or less 5 3-pointers next week? What about Giannis? Cook up the hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Bob, back to it here. I'm going to let you explain the numerical anonymous. He was trying to say anonymous. I can't even say.
Just,
The Clippers.
Every once in a while, a game just jumps out at you, and it's worthy of just comment. People who don't know, because it was a late night, and I didn't know about it until later in the morning. I didn't, the day after. The Clippers beat the Nets the other night at home, 126-67. Which, if you have your calculator, would tell you that that's a 59-point spread, and it was in fact the largest spread in the Clippers' history. The NBA record, I think it had to do with the Lakers and Warriors back sometime way back, but 60 some. Anyway, 59 is a lot. Celtics won 3 games by 50 last year, but 59 is a lot. And my favorite blowout from it, in the second and third periods alone, the Clippers outscored them 81-40. Just in the second and third period. That's all. It's just an anomalous night. The Clippers, who we don't pay any attention to anymore, really. Do you think about them?
Oh, no.
I don't think about the Clippers anymore. Window, whatever. However,
well, Kyrie is always hurt, and they made trades, and they broke up the.
Yeah, they still got Harden, and he's putting up, his numbers, all the time, but kind of in a vacuum now. But for the Nets, the Nets have been beset. Their season is a wipe out and start. The injuries, all right, all the time, and it's just anyway. 126-67 does get your attention when an NBA team doesn't score 70 points. It's just worthy of.
It's sad. Right, that's a sad situation.
Tough year to be a Nets fan, I can tell you that. Yeah. Particularly with Kenny Atkinson on his way to Coach of the Year,
right?
Or at least one of the prime candidates. And they dumped him, and that. But again, that's not so unusual in pro sports. I don't want to make too big a deal out of that, because we've got a billion examples of that over the years. So, but anyway,
well, it's amazing how good a coach can become when they have better players.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
But like you said, though, Atkinson learned from it. You said he's kind of a changed guy, though, right?
Yeah. It's always good. Yes, Atkinson apparently did learn from it. He's got a lot of respect in this league. I do know that. That was a nice matchup between he and Mark Daigneault last night. Our Mark Daigneault, who of course is from Leominster. We always have to point that out.
That's right. And I believe went to. Oh no, he's from Leominster. It's the GM who went to Emerson.
Sam Preston.
Yeah, Sam Preston. Unfortunately, Bob, at this time, you and I are always talking about a player who you covered, and I first watched growing up. And I remember Gus Williams with the 75 Warriors. You mentioned me, he was a rookie. Then went on with the Sonics, but he unfortunately has passed away. He was a hell of a player, man. He's a hell of a player.
Gus is the next level below Hall of Fame. He's an excellent player. He's not in the Hall. I would never. But he had a 12-year career in which he averaged career average. Let's see, I got it here. Of 17.1, shot 46% from the floor. Just some cool numbers here. His primary years were with Seattle. He became a free agent after the 76-77 season and signed with Seattle, and immediately made a mark with them and gave them a tremendous backcourt with Dennis Johnson and Slick Watts and downtown Freddie Brown. That was a potent backcourt. I remember, he was as fast up and down the floor as anybody in that time. He was a rocket ship, 6'2", out of USC in Mount Vernon, New York. And Paul Westphal said to me, he said, he doesn't have a green light. He has no lights. I love that line about shooting. Interesting. People forget he held out and missed the entire 80-81 season. His agent was the then notorious Howard Slusher. There was a point in time when Howard Slusher was the Boris of basketball. Okay, and so he was the Boris of basketball. I got to know him because of my friendship with Paul Westphal, and Westphal was one of his clients. I actually once stayed at Howard Slusher's house, and so yeah, a real interesting guy. He held out on a contract dispute the entire 1980-81 season, which is how many times has that happened in our
you
experience?
lose a year salary, man. That's a lot.
Yeah. So he was a member of the 1979 championship Sonics, and that team, starting lineup, that team should have accomplished more than that. They lost in 78 before he got there. And no, I'm sorry, he lost the first year to the Bullets, the then Bullets, now Wizards. And then in 1979 they won and beat the same Bullets in a rematch. During the 79 playoffs, Gus Williams averaged 26.6 points a game for the entire playoffs, wow. 17 games. That's good numbers, very good numbers. So he was a two-time All-Star. He was a one-time first-team All-NBA, 81-82. The year after he held out, how's that? He came back and being first-team All-League, and was a really worthy player, and somebody that team had a chance. They had a run there, guys, from the time 78, 79. They had a run in 1977-78. Bob Hopkins, who was first cousin of Bill Russell, by the way, Bob Hopkins was the coach. He was fired after 18 games when they were 5-17. Lenny Wilkins replaced him.
Right.
And from that point on, they went 42-18, and they finished at 47-35. And then in the next year, and that year they went to the finals. That year they went to the finals after starting off 5-17, because Gus had a lot to do with that. Next year they win. They're 52-30. Year after that, they're 56-26. Setback in 80-81. Guess who didn't play? Gus Williams. They went 34-48. Talk about proving your valuable nature of the team. And then 81-82, it comes back to 52 games. So it was a nice little run. By the way, for people who, a lot of fans, of course, do know this, he's the older brother of Ray Williams. And of course, we did have Ray Williams for part of the 84-85 season. Ray Williams was a stat filler, which included quadruple stats, which included turnovers. I got to tell you, I'll never forget this one. He's playing for the Knicks, and Hubie Brown is the coach. And there's a playoff game in which he has a quadruple double, including turnovers, or at least he had a triple double, including turnovers. And Hubie Brown is throwing me the stat sheet, and he's saying, bleeping guy, thinks it's the Rucker League. That was Ray. And here's a little oddity that I just found out today. Gus was born October 10th, 1953. Ray was born October 14th, 1954. Mrs. Williams had a rough year.
She was busy.
How about that?
Yeah.
Two kids in 13 months.
God bless her. Jeez. So
anyway.
That Seattle team that had, Westphal was on that team, right? Lonnie Shelton, Jack Sikma.
Seattle, the starting lineup that won the championship. Jack Sikma. This is after they got rid of Marvin, the human eraser.
The eraser. Yeah, Webster. Webster.
Lonnie Shelton, who we'll talk about in a second. John Johnson, who was the Al Horford kind of presence on that team. He wasn't out, at that point. He was the only one. 4 starters were under 25, were 25 or under, and he was the only one who wasn't. He was the Al Horford of that team. DJ, who was in his second year.
Yep,
remember, and DJ famously in Game 5 in 78 shot 0 for 14 in Game 5 in 78 when they lost. And then this year, DJ's the MVP.
Yeah.
And the favorite number of DJ ever. In that series, Dennis Johnson, 6'4" guard, blocked 14 shots in 5 games.
Wow.
Eric White, eat your heart out. That's some shot blocking.
Well, you know,
DJ.
Go ahead.
Well, DJ, I once said, more than once said, was the most destructive guard I ever saw. He was a destructive physical presence in a guard position. You know, that's imposing your will on a game. 14 shots, blocks in 5 games for a guard in the finals in '79. And he averaged 20 points a game. So he gives you 20 points a game in that series, and he blocks 14 shots in 5 games. Okay. And Gus, and coming off the bench, downtown Freddie. That was a damn good team.
A very good team.
Damn good team. And they kept it going for a couple more years. But, they weren't as, but guess what? The Lakers were around.
Right.
You know,
right. You're right.
The Lakers were around.
The Magic
and
that was into play.
Yeah. So, there you go. Now, so R.I.P. Ray. Ray did his life didn't end well. He suffered a stroke in 2020 and spent most of the last 4 years as an invalid. Apparently, really seriously, it's sad. But they'll be trying to return him to Mount Vernon.
You know, Bob, it's mentioned. I didn't know if you want to discuss it, but I'll bring it up in general terms. Gus, it appears, didn't have a lot of money. What happens to these players? I mean, we know the NFL. What happens to these guys? You know, NFL has had a problem.
I don't know. In this case, you would just irresponsible. Look at what Antoine Walker did. He squandered all his money until he realized now he goes around giving motivational speeches. Don't be like me is Antoine Walker's speech pattern. Speech theme. I don't know about Gus. Frankly, I don't know the details about Gus.
Well, they didn't make the money. That's my point. I mean, like he played in the '70s. Those guys didn't make any money.
I'll bet that holdout brought him $200,000, maybe. Maybe 250, maybe not.
No,
maybe he's got
those athletes. I mean, I remember. This is the only example I can come up with. Rico Petrocelli used to tell me he bought a gas station. He was pumping gas in the off season. I mean, these guys, they don't. They didn't start making money till the '80s.
It was still the era of looking for a second job. For the most part. For some anyway. Yeah, I don't know what he did, but Gus will be fondly remembered in many places, and especially SC, where he's a Hall of Famer at USC, and in his hometown of Mount Vernon, which was a really good basketball town. So, yeah.
Well,
so
Bob,
sad about Gus.
One more thought coming up on an unhappy Jimmy Butler in just a minute. But first, I have to tell you about Game Time. Game Time, you get the app on your phone. You got a G right there. It's not for Gary. No, it's for Game Time. You click on the app, and you can make your Game Time picks. It filters out all the incredible deals on the great seats that you can get as you search through thousands of tickets for the best value. They've got the super deal, which is the best deal online that particular time. And it's so easy to use when it comes to buying tickets because you set your phone up where you want to go. You see all the games in the area in Boston. You see the ticket. You click on. You can check out your seats. You know what the view is from your seat. And always you can customize your spot on your app so your app knows exactly what you're looking for, the type of game you're looking for, the type of place you're looking for, where you want to go, how much you want to spend. So it's just a click away on your phone. They have on-time ticket delivery. They have the lowest price guarantee. They even have cancellation protection. So you can't do better than Game Time. Also, I always forget this. It's not just sports. They have concerts, comedy, and theater as well. And there are no surprise fees. You know what you're dealing with right at the minute. You're not going to click buy and then see another $25 on there. So once again, seat views, panoramic view from the seat that you're going to be buying on your app. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And they have a terrific ticket coverage program. All right, one of the best in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, use code GameTime for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the code GameTime to get $20 off. I want to know with Jimmy Butler. So here's a guy that was suspended for 7 games by the Miami Heat He doesn't want to play there anymore. He's 35 years old. And maybe he's just trying to shoot his way out of town because they're not going to pay him. He's due to get $100 million over the next 2 years. And they didn't pick up that option. So he's not going to get that money. He averaged 17.6 points per game. Is there a home for this guy?
People are throwing around some teams. One team that people talk about is Phoenix. But, what they're going to get back, I don't know. Somewhere, people would like to have the talent, but of course, along with the talent comes the attitude.
Right.
And he's a perpetual malcontent. He was not happy in Chicago. He's not happy in Minnesota. He's not, he's not happy in Miami. His talent's unquestioned. We know how many times 2 years ago did we talk about our guys and how they need a dose of Jimmy Butler. Our friends Tatum and Brown, they need that kind of a grit and that kind of.
Right.
He's a noted player. He's a noted big game player, and that built to an extent. I don't know to what full extent. He's 35. But he can help a contend. He can help put a team over the top if you went in there with the right attitude. But the problem is, how do they have to what extent do they have to rob their Peter to pay this Paul? I don't know. I don't know how this going. He's not easy to bring in. So it's a complicated thing. But when you do bring him in, boy, you better make him happy. It's in the world. Everybody knows it. This is not any secret. There's no secret. Everybody.
No, but I was really surprised. But the only upside, I think, is if you can swing a deal somehow, and obviously there's a financial albatross involved here. But if you somehow make it work, he seems to do okay at the beginning. So if you brought him on a contender, like I'm not saying the Celtics don't need Jimmy Butler, but if you brought him on a contender, like Phoenix, you mentioned, or as a veteran, I think he would be okay for a year or two, and then it's see you later. Because at the beginning, it's fun. I mean, Bob, I always knew who he was, and I thought he was a good player. Quite frankly, he surprised me in Miami. I didn't know he could take it to that level.
I'm not sure. I won't disagree with you. I think he showed us all a lot there. No question.
That's the first thing. He can do it.
We had him on a certain level when he proved that he was worthy of being on a higher level. That's fine.
Right.
I agree with that. It's interesting, but he's so. I mean, he's just so specific. Everybody, you think about him, and you think about two things. The clutch play and the fact he's never happy or seldom ever happy. So that's so. But we're talking about a Hall of Fame talent. I mean, I can see him, someday having to make that speech in Springfield. So.
Bob, before I let you go, I want to.
Goes and wins another one.
Yeah. What's that?
If he ever goes and wins another one, he's definitely going to Springfield.
Right. Bob, going to change gears a little bit. Just your thoughts on Vrabel becoming the head coach of the Patriots.
Mike Vrabel, I happen to. Well, I'm very happy. I'm very happy about it. I think he was an ideal choice for them, and I'm really looking forward to it. But this guy's whole career path, going back to Ohio State, is so consistently positive, is so consistently upbeat, upward trending. He's a special guy. Funny you mention this because I was reminded, and I knew I had written about him at one point when I was, when he was with the Patriots, and it turned out somebody posted this on X the other day, the column, and I went and looked it up myself because in 2004, and the things that people were saying about him are worth repeating. People should know how far back it goes. That he had this enormous respect, enormous positive, Q rating. Everybody loved him and respected him. The word intelligence and character and perspective and all, it's always been there. So he's far from through. Obviously, he's in a prime of coaching life at his age, and we're really lucky to have him. And I think a lot of teams would have liked to have had him. And what happened in Tennessee, a lot of it was a falling out with a GM.
Oh yeah,
he wanted another. All right, so he's got his strong opinions. Everybody's wondering, where does this leave Elliott Wolf? I don't know for sure, frankly. I don't know, and I don't want to downplay the guy. at all, but God knows he's Ray Wolf's father.
If you can give Vrabel the players, you're going to be a contender. That I know.
Yeah.
Because he did it in Tennessee, and he did it with a quarterback that the quarterback was just okay. I mean, he took an okay quarterback and went to a conference title game and won Coach of the Year. If you get Vrabel the players, which he's obviously going to be involved in, you will be a contender. That it's going to take a couple of years, but you will be a contender.
Certainly, that coaches need or to be totally successful, and he has. I don't think anyone doubts that he has it. So we're lucky to have him. I'm happy. They're not going to go out and win 10 games next year.
Oh no!
Damn it! But you're going to enjoy having him as the coach. Yes, great.
Quick story before I let you go. When Vrabel graduated from Ohio State, he went to Pittsburgh, and he kind of got lost in the linebacker thing there, defensive end rotation in Pittsburgh, even though he was the guy that forced the Drew Bledsoe fumble. But
correct.
Supposedly, the Patriots, the players never watched Sports Tonight, when we were on. What we learned during that time when the Patriots became very popular, we were the only show on television every day, like locally. So the Patriots watched us all the time. Everybody did. And if a particular Patriot wasn't watching, their friends were. So they make the deal and they bring in Vrabel. And I wasn't a big college football fan guy, but I was like, who's Mike Vrabel? I mean, and it turned out to be a great pickup, obviously, because Bill got him for short money. And he was kind of lost in Pittsburgh, and the guy needed a new beginning. So I said, who the hell is this Mike Vrabel? You know how we can be snarky. Larry Izzo records it and puts it on Vrabel's voicemail. Right? So here I come in the locker room. Vrabel busted my chops forever.
Yeah.
In a good way. I mean, everybody loves him. I mean, Vrabel busts balls. I mean, that's what he does. But he never let me forget it.
He was able to deal with Belichick in that way.
Right.
There was a story about, Belichick was forever, like as was Parcells, they were forever talking about how the wonders of Lawrence Taylor. What a great player Lawrence Taylor was. To the point, so Vrabel comes out the next day with a Giants helmet on.
Right. Oh yeah. That was great. Bill loved it. Yeah.
Not many guys would have the, had cojones to try to make fun of Bill, but he did. And
then you fast forward to that Tennessee game where Vrabel outcoached him.
Yes.
Oh God, what a mental matchup that was.
Penalty time killer that he saved that one in his back pocket. Oh no, we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, Robert, always a pleasure. We'll talk next week. We'll find Mr. Goodman, see what's going on there. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. For Bob Ryan, I'm Gary Tanguay. We'll see you next time.